Tonight, Jim Karagianis is reinstated as counselor for Scarborough Agincourt.
The clerk got in touch with me today. I think, to be sworn back in and back to work at 9:30.
Karagianis was booted from council earlier this month over an alleged expense violation. We'll tell you why he's not out of the woods yet. Plus,
just dumped this bucket of brownish liquid on this Chinese guy's whole body.
police are on the hunt for a suspect after feces is thrown at students on 2 separate occasions. And public elementary and high school teachers will start work to rule campaigns tomorrow. We'll tell you what kind of effect it'll have on schools. Good evening, I'm Mike Wise. Councillor Jim Karagianis is returning to office just 3 weeks after he was kicked off Toronto Council for alleged overspending during the last municipal election. The Ward 22 councillor took his case to court, and today a judge reinstated him. But as Kelda Yoon tells us, his troubles may not be over yet.
I want to thank the unwavering support of my wife, my family, and my constituents.
An emotional Jim Karagianis spoke to reporters hours after the ruling came down.
I've got some calls. Congratulations. I want to thank him for reaching out. Text, emails, phone calls. The phone hasn't stopped ringing.
City Council was set to discuss the councillor's vacant seat at tomorrow's council meeting. Instead, it released a statement tonight saying arrangements are now being made for Karagianis to attend the regularly scheduled meeting.
The clerk got in touch with me today. I think, to be sworn back in and back to work at 9:30.
Karagianis, who represents Scarborough Agincourt, was kicked off of council just under 3 weeks ago. The city clerk finding he broke election spending rules related to holding parties to thank campaign volunteers. The councillor took the case to court, his lawyer arguing it was actually a fundraising event with no spending limit and that it was an accounting mistake. Today, the judge stated in his ruling that he finds Karagianis acted in good faith and did not try to hide the expense and therefore should be reinstated.
I glanced at it. I was interested in what he had to say. I stand by my return. I stand by 31 years of politics.
Karagianis' expenses are still in the process of being reviewed by a compliance audit committee. If he is charged and convicted under the Municipal Elections Act, he could still face punishment, including being removed from council. Kelda Yoon, CBC News, Toronto.
A 17-year-old girl died this afternoon after 2 cars collided in the Don Mills and Eglinton area.
We don't have any information regarding how fast the vehicles were traveling at the time, but it is going to be one of many factors that is going to be taken into consideration in this early investigation.
Now, this all happened just after 12. Witnesses tell police a Beck taxi was trying to make a left turn when another vehicle hit it. That car spun out of control and struck a pole. It had 4 people inside. Police say the 17-year-old was trapped inside and died from her injuries. The 3 others were transported to hospital with non-life-threatening injuries. Police are asking anyone who might have witnessed the incident to contact them. And the investigation continues tonight into 2 shocking cases at both York University and U of T, where a man walked into the library and poured a bucket of what is believed to be fecal matter onto an unsuspecting victim. Greg Ross has the details.
It's disgusting. It is abhorrent.
That's how many students at York University reacted to this video that appeared online. It shows the aftermath of a bizarre attack where an unknown man walked into the Scott Library and dumped a bucket of what is believed to be fecal matter on an unsuspecting student.
You know, it was pretty much an attack.
This section on the 3rd floor of the library where it happened remained closed today to finish cleaning the mess left behind. But even when it does open, many students say they'll have a hard time returning.
Are you going to be thinking twice before you go back?
I'm not actually going back to the 3rd floor of the library. I'm going to be studying in the 1st floor or, some other library.
It happened just 2 days after a similar attack at the University of Toronto's Robarts Library on Friday, at a time when the library was filled with students.
I saw this guy wearing a construction hat, just walking faster than usual.
Jason Huang was in the library cafeteria studying with friends when the man in the hard hat caught his eye.
He just dumped this bucket of brownish liquid on this Chinese guy's whole body. He couldn't open his eyes. He kept rubbing his eyes.
Huang says at first other students tried to help.
But then the smell hit. around 1 or 2 minutes after. And then everyone was just trying to leave because the smell was really, really unbearable.
As for the man in the hard hat, Huang says he ran away laughing. Police say it's likely the same person responsible for last night's attack at York University.
People aren't laughing about it here.
Oh, of course not. No. And I hope, it is my sincere hope that the university and the police services take it very seriously.
Both universities say they are working closely with police to try and identify the suspect. Greg Ross, CBC News, Toronto.
Tomorrow is the first day of a Work to Rule campaign in Ontario public schools. Both the Elementary Teachers Union and the Secondary School Teachers Union will start their job action, which will see them refuse to perform some administrative tasks. That means teachers won't be completing report cards, although they will provide a list of marks. They won't participate in EQAO-related activities like standardized tests or participate in any school board or Ministry of Education professional learning outside of the school day.
Students will see absolutely no effect on their quality of education, their education environment whatsoever. What students and parents may notice is that my members will be doing some information distribution outside of schools or in other places in the community. They won't be slowing down anybody's access to a work site.
A couple of questions.
There are no plans yet to cancel extracurriculars or holiday concerts. The Education Minister put out a statement today calling the job action disappointing, saying the province wants to land a deal at the bargaining table. Negotiations resume on Wednesday and Thursday.
So this is actually called the spending factor, or the latte.
Carla Kennedy's here with her first look at the forecast. Got to take advantage of tomorrow's warm temperatures while we can.
Yeah, beautiful conditions in terms of we may double what would be normal for this time of year in terms of our high. And yeah, that does mean pushing towards double digits. So I'm going to get to the numbers in just a moment here. Do know that we have that risk of some drizzle, light showers overnight tonight, primarily well to the north of us or northwest. But Tuesday, mild conditions. Wednesday, it all changes. Temperatures are still on the warmer side, but wind and rain moving in. Some of the daytime highs today, speaking of mild conditions, I mean, there was a lot of cloud cover, but still 7, 8, we'll kind of take that. There are some of those light showers, really not much to this system that's moving through other than it's pushed some of the numbers up in terms of our temperatures. A mix of sun and cloud through the day tomorrow. We will be seeing that warmer air moving in, but then overnight, Tuesday into Wednesday, rainy conditions, 10 to 15 millimeters, and those winds getting quite strong as well. I'm going to go into more detail on that coming up. Just know that overnight tonight, 4 degrees is our low, and tomorrow, there it is, a high of 10 degrees, Mike.
Looking great. Thanks, Colette.
You're welcome.
There was a meeting tonight for residents who live near Yonge and Eglinton who are concerned about the safety on the streets of the neighborhood. That area is undergoing a major transformation with the construction of not only the Eglinton Crosstown LRT, but also multiple condos. But many residents feel the work is putting people at risk.
Do you feel safe crossing the street these days?
No, not at all.
Do you feel safe crossing the street these days?
Right here at this intersection, not particularly.
Back in September, a cement truck struck and killed a 54-year-old woman a few blocks north of Eglinton. Tonight's meeting, residents hope to find solutions that could be applied at other intersections throughout the city.
Bad planning rules by the province, poor enforcement by the police, and a lack of action by the city when it comes to road redesign and reconfiguration. Those of us who represent this local neighborhood are just trying to bring everyone together, including the community, to focus on real action steps to take.
Toronto police say cars and trucks have struck more than 1,100 pedestrians this year. 31 have died. Well, the race to take over as leader of the Ontario Liberal Party taking a step forward tonight. Would-be leaders had until this evening to put their names forward. 6 candidates have now done so. Our Queen's Park reporter Mike Crawley looks at who they are and the challenge the winner will face.
With just 5 sitting MPPs right now, the Liberals are a shadow of their former selves in the legislature. One of those hoping to lead the party back from the political wilderness, MPP Michael Coteau.
We've seen massive cuts to climate change mitigation programs.
Coteau held 5 different cabinet posts under former Premier Kathleen Wynne. Before that, he spent 8 years as a school trustee.
As Liberals, I think we've got to take a practical approach to rebuilding the party and really think about what a practical government means to Ontario today and approach it that way based on issues and not be locked into ideology like the Conservatives and NDP are.
Two other former cabinet ministers are also in the running. Scarborough MPP Mitzi Hunter was first elected in 2013. She served as Education Minister and Associate Minister of Finance in the Wynne government. Stephen Del Duca was the first Liberal to join the leadership race. The former MPP for Vaughan served as Transportation Minister and Economic Development Minister. In last year's election, Del Duca was defeated, along with all other Liberal incumbents in the 905. If fundraising is any measure of support, Del Duca is leading the race right now, followed by Coteau and Hunter. Trailing are two newcomers who've never held elected office.
We've gotten a lot of new people to join the party and a lot of new donors to donate for the first time, and people who've never thought about donating before giving $5, $10, $25. And so I'm really encouraged by that.
Alvin Tejo is running his campaign from a co-working space in downtown Toronto. He's been a staffer at Queen's Park and ran unsuccessfully in last year's provincial election in Oakville, North Burlington.
We're trying to start over, to turn the page and show that there's a new generation of leadership.
The other declared leadership candidates are Kate Graham. She's an academic at Western who ran for the Liberals in London last year. And a last-minute entry, Ottawa lawyer Brenda Hollingsworth. By the time the Liberals pick their new leader at the convention in March, it'll be little more than 2 years before the next election campaign. And that's not a lot of time to rebuild this party from the ground up and to focus on their ultimate goal of knocking off the Progressive Conservatives and Doug Ford. Mike Crawley, CBC News, Toronto.
Some changes are on the way for Mississauga healthcare as the province announces the city as its first of 24 new Ontario health teams. I'm Talia Ricci, and coming up, we'll tell you about this new model, and we'll also meet a patient who shares some of his challenges he's had with the system.
Ontario is trying out a new model for healthcare delivery. The health minister announcing today the first of a number of new teams being tasked with streamlining the system and stopping vulnerable patients from falling through the cracks. Talia Ricci has more on how it's supposed to work.
Back gets misaligned, your hip.
John McKenna broke both of his legs in an accident more than 4 years ago. Navigating the healthcare system continues to be a part of his life.
I got to see the inside of the healthcare system. For 3 weeks I was in the hospital. I had 5 surgeries and 2 years of outpatient.
But even this professor says he found parts of the process complicated and confusing, especially in the midst of dealing with such a severe injury.
Even at the transition home, there was confusion about who's supposed to make sure my home's safe, who is going to take care of having the physiotherapist coming in. And it felt like we were in almost a maze or a labyrinth of how to find our way through to get that help that we needed.
McKenna was asked to share this patient perspective alongside medical professionals when the Ontario health teams were being created. These teams are supposed to take the pressure off of patients by coordinating the different types of healthcare a patient needs and helping them navigate the system. The first team was announced today in Mississauga.
I hear from patients that when they're most in need, afraid and vulnerable, that they struggle to find their way through a complicated and confusing system.
We do all know that our health system is facing significant pressures. It simply doesn't have the right mix of services, beds, or digital tools.
Elliott says the goal is to have a single record and care plan for each patient. The Mississauga Health Team will start phasing in the changes in 2020.
For example, hospitals working with home care as a single team can begin to plan for and coordinate a patient's return home as soon as they're actually admitted to hospital.
And that's something McKenna has been advocating for. He says having to manage all of the different areas of his own health care caused anxiety.
Each time I'm meeting someone, I'm having to tell the same story over and over again.
The province says there will be 23 more Ontario health teams as part of this plan. Those are expected to be announced by the end of the year. Talia Ricci, CBC News, Toronto.
The city of Oshawa has taken a big economic hit this year with the impending closure of the GM plant, and now a major nonprofit housing project has stalled more than once. Habitat for Humanity says it is struggling to complete a number of homes under construction due to a drop in donations. As Farah Morali tells us, the problem may be linked to GM's shuttering its plant.
So we'll be walking into the back of the house right now.
It's hard to tell now, but these wooden frames will soon form the walls of a 4-bedroom townhouse. Construction was supposed to wrap months ago on this project to build 4 townhouses, but it's had to stop twice because there simply wasn't enough money to keep going.
We were building at a stage that was quicker than money was flowing in. So as I said, we stopped and paused.
So what happened as a result of it sitting empty on the winter? I guess we're seeing some of the effects over there.
Unfortunately, some of the problems when you do close down, we had a lot of thunderstorms and such this summer, and what happened was we call it delamination, basically a deterioration of the floor. So it's not completely proper, so of course we want to tear it up and replace it with new.
Habitat for Humanity Durham is the only regional Habitat office in the GTA in Hamilton that's had to pause construction like this because of funding issues.
Most people don't realize that Habitat for Humanity relies so much on donations. They think it's only volunteers, but actually it's both.
The drop in donations comes at a time when Oshawa is picking up the pieces as GM shuts down its operation for good at the end of next month. Not only was it a donor to Habitat for Humanity Durham, but the automaker is eliminating nearly 3,000 jobs.
It was the last piece of a long-term trend of that hollowing out of a foundation of our economy locally.
Ben Earl runs Feed the Need in Durham, a hub for food banks across the region. The longtime community advocate says GM's departure didn't just take an economic toll, it took a psychological one, too.
As individuals are worried more and more about their own employment or their own financial well-being, it's harder and harder to make a decision to support your community, and that's understandable.
So they've lived and breathed what it's like to experience the change in economic situations in Oshawa, and they want to contribute to growing Oshawa's future.
Thanks to a steady stream of volunteer groups like these students from the Durham District School Board, and of course, donations, the project is moving ahead once again. Farah Morali, CBC News, Toronto.
Well, you can do your part this holiday season to support food banks across the GTA. Donate to CBC Toronto's Sounds of the Season fundraiser with Daily Bread Food Bank. We are collecting money in non-perishable food donations here at the Broadcast Centre, and you can also donate online or over the phone.
Kawhi up top, looks at the clock, turns the corner for the win!
Remember that shot. It was a buzzer beater heard round the world, or Canada at least. That famous shot by Kawhi Leonard ended the last game the Raptors played against the Philadelphia 76ers. Until tonight, we'll have full game highlights after the break.
The weather update is brought to you by Train, the most reliable heating and cooling brand. It's hard to stop a train.
The Raptors playing Philly tonight for the first time since Kawhi Leonard sank that buzzer beater in the Eastern Conference semifinals. Let's pick it up in the second. Raptors up by 1. Chris Boucher finds Hollis Jefferson, who finds Pascal Siakam for the floater. Raptors up at the half, but this is a tight game heading into the fourth. 76ers going to run. Josh Richardson pulls up for long two. This makes it 96-91 Philly. Toronto responds, though. Siakam spins around and gets the hoop, and a foul. He'd put Toronto up again. Sixers, though, still in it. Ben Simmons spots Harris. Siakam deflects it away there. Raptors win 101-96. Colette Kennedy is back with their extended forecast. Nice forecast when we can look at doubling the average temperature for tomorrow.
Yeah, pretty nice, right? You got it, Mike. That's what we are looking at. If we just check out the almanac and merely look at what an average high is for this time of year, just about 5 degrees. And as we've been talking about tomorrow, looks like a high of about 10 degrees. So really pleasant in the temperature department. Not bad for sky conditions. We have quite a bit of cloud cover overnight tonight. Some light showers, drizzle, just kind of mostly anyway to the north of us. But as we go through the day tomorrow, that system kind of pushes by. So we get a little bit more cloud cover at times. It's this next system coming out of Colorado that we'll need to get concerned about. It helps to push our winds from the southwest in here and bring those temperatures up. But it will be overnight Tuesday into Wednesday when it really arrives, especially for Wednesday morning's commute. Rain will get heavier, 10 to 15, in some cases 20 millimeters of rainfall coming through the day on Wednesday, and those winds really ramping up as well. So we'll be looking at some of those wind gusts exceeding 60 kilometers an hour, certainly as this moves through. Into the afternoon hours on Wednesday, we'll see things getting a little bit lighter, especially later afternoon, and a little more scattered in terms of the nature of this thing. But the winds will continue. Still pretty mild on Wednesday, but then the door closes on that once that system departs and temperatures fall off. Overnight tonight, clear skies, so temperatures a little cooler in southwestern Ontario, at least clearing skies we're seeing. 2 degrees will be your overnight low. And look at these numbers for tomorrow. Double digits all around. Late afternoon, a chance for some showers, but because that system, the timing, it looks like it's going to be quite late afternoon and more towards evening, and it might be very, very light and spotty in nature before really you get into it overnight on Tuesday. And then back towards the GTA, that chance of some drizzle. Look at the overnight lows. Because of the extra cloud cover, things are a little bit on the mild side here. There are those beautiful highs for tomorrow, and still dry, so things looking pretty good. It's when we get into Wednesday, those windy conditions, those winds again exceeding 60 kilometers an hour, some of the gusts. And then there's a look, a peek at some of the cooler air below seasonal that moves in for the rest of the week and into the weekend, Mike.
You give and then you taketh.
Yes, I'm giving. Let's
just focus on tomorrow. Okay, thanks, Colette.
You got it.
Well, speaking of giving and taking, Hudson and Humphrey, the polar bears, are leaving the Toronto Zoo. This is because of an animal swap with an aquarium in Quebec City. The brother bears, both born at the zoo, will head east, while a female polar bear and 2 walruses will call Toronto their new home. The zoo says it's going to help support conservation efforts and expand research, especially on walruses. Well, this video is getting a lot of clicks half a world away in Palestine. Mohammed Kadesh and Mohammed Ryan, both newcomers to Windsor, posted it, responding to a friend's challenge. The two can be seen dancing dubka, a traditional Middle Eastern dance on the Windsor waterfront with Detroit in the background there. They estimate around 3,000 people have seen the video, primarily in Palestine, where they grew up. Came to Windsor as refugees, both within the last year, and they've been dancing since they were kids. Well, tomorrow on Metro Morning, Matt will speak with the first openly trans officer with Toronto Police. Miles Glazier has only been on the job for a month, but his hiring is being hailed as groundbreaking. We'll hear what it means for him to wear the uniform tomorrow. You can get that about 7:40 a.m. on Metro Morning. That's on CBC Radio 1. I'll see you back here on CBC Television tomorrow night at 11. Good night.